So last class we were discussing about terrorism and financing terror. In that, today we will be talking about the extension of it, the money laundering, one of the important terror financing mechanism what the globe faces. In India, how this money laundering is addressed. So what are the preventive measures we have will be discussed today. Fine. So questions as far as money laundering, we have what is the significance for India with respect to money laundering and what steps we have taken to control the menace, and explaining the linkages between the crime activities and the money laundering, etc., and how the countermeasures could be taken to prevent the same. So all these will be discussed as part of it. And as far as drug trafficking and illicit activities, we'll discuss the subsequent part tomorrow, which we'll discuss about organized crime and transnational crime. Fine. So first we start with what is money laundering. Basically, money laundering, the word launder. So we use this word launder to cleanse something, right? So laundering, laundry. So same way here, money laundering refers to something which is conversion or misrepresentation of money which has been illegally obtained. Okay? So you try to convert the money from its illegitimacy or illegality to legality. Okay, so that we call it as money laundering. And this particular money laundering is something which is unlawful because the source of money is going to be illicit, and because it's a crime money. And then when you launder it, you try to enter into the formal economy, which results in disturbing the entire economic process. So as far as money laundering is happening, it doesn't mean that all money which is earned or all money which is laundered is going to be illegitimate. Largely, it is illegitimate, but there are certain instances which the money comes from a legitimate source can also be into this particular method. But the thing is, it would have been got into like black. Okay, so there is dirty money which is nothing but source from crime. Okay, so there is some black money where say for example, I may earn it legitimately, but I source it to some person. For some person, it may convert into a black, and that's the logic how the flow concept comes in with respect to black money. So this particular flow of money which turns black, and that can also be laundered and converted into what do you call the um, legitimate money. So that we call it as money laundering too. Okay, so both the ways we try to launder. So money can come from legitimate source or from criminal source, right? Both can be laundered and it can be converted into um, legitimate money, right? So that's the logic of money laundering. So money laundering, remember that it doesn't need to be completely dirty money. So it can be a legitimate source, but untaxed, okay, non-taxed or untaxed money. So naturally, it's a black money, right? Okay. So how actually money laundering happens? So the idea is that first they try to source it, okay. So they have the money in their hand from various sources. And the first step, what they try to do is what you call it as placement. What is this placement? Placement means putting the crime money into the financial system, the formal financial system. So how? It may be to the bank, it may be to some financial institutions, likewise. And then layering. What is layering in plants? What we try to layer. So we try to uh, uh, try to have different routes so that the plant stem can grow independently. So layering, the second stage is that the injected money will be spreading throughout the financial system with various transactions. And then integration state takes place. So how integration takes place? Integration is in the sense the transaction will complete in such a way that it will be routed out, and then the same person receives the money as a payment. We will see how it happens, right? So first, it is entry of this client money into the formal system placement, and then it tries to spread, that is layering, and then you launder and get the money in a clean form, that we call it as integration. Clear? Say for example, any anti-money laundering act, okay, any anti-money laundering act. So they try to go in this order. So what they do, they have a generated dirty money. So it can be of any aspects, okay, dirty money. And from this dirty money, what they try to do, they try to move the funds away from its sources, and then they deposit. Okay, there are many methods that we will discuss how they deposit it. We call it as smurfing. Okay, so likewise. So we will discuss that. So in this way, we try to create deposits. We try to involve in currency exchanges. We try to involve in gambling. Okay, so getting this money into gambling, and then they try to multiply the money, even though they say they really lose money in gambling. The dirty money, they will say 1 lakh they will lose, but they will source that 10 lakhs I got it from gambling. Okay. So likewise, they try to inject the money, and this money will go for multiple transfer. So multiple transfer involves both onshore and offshore. That means within India and abroad. So both. Okay. So it will just move, flip and back, and then comes back as legal money, and they try to purchase, invest it in properties, luxury goods, many legal businesses. Cryptocurrency plays a major role here now. Okay, so we'll find it out. So all these aspects comes into this particular route. So here, generation of black money, or sorry, generation of dirty money. Here it is through criminal activity. Okay, so that we call it as organized crime. So that we'll see later tomorrow. So organized crime is a source of it. Now, for placement, that is for injecting and layering, they have some methods. Okay, integration happens through investments. That's not an issue. But methods for placement and layering is important. So that keeps up. So in order to prevent money laundering, we need to understand what are the methods they use for placement and layering. Then only we can clearly understand what this placement and layering is all about. Fine. So the techniques or methods of laundering money comes first with structuring. Okay. So what is structuring? Structuring is nothing but smurfing. What is smurfing? Breaking it into small deposits. Say, for example, you could have seen during the election times, a candidate spend crores of rupees. How they go to the deposit or how they distribute it. Say, for example, they are having, say, 100 crores of money going to be spent. Not all 100 crores are going to be provided at one go. So what they will do, they will just make it into small bits, and they will just put it in some bank accounts or post office accounts, say 1,000 rupees money order, they'll just send from unknown address. Okay. So from unknown address, they'll just send 1,000 rupees money order for a particular account, or just go to a cooperative bank, deposit. So wherever the computerized system is not available, wherever even when the deposits are happening, you cannot mind it. So they break it into very small deposits and they deposit it. Say, for example, even in India, only when you deposit 50,000 rupees in a bank account, you have an alert mechanism. Say what happens, they just provide 5,000 in an account. Okay, depositing a 5,000 in a cash in an account is not a big problem, and even for that you cannot mind of saying it something. Even if somebody is going to inquire, getting 5,000 in cash and depositing is not a big deal to, I mean, big worry to deal with. So what happens? They try to do it. So 5,000 rupees, when I have 100 crores, breaking down into 5,000 rupees, I just move on and provide it to lakhs of people or thousands of people. So in that way, what happens? I try to find out around 2,000 people to provide it. So ultimately, what happens in that particular way, my election funds are distributed through bank accounts itself, right? So in cash, they try to deposit. They don't deposit through bank transfers. In cash, they try to deposit. So likewise, they try to structure it. They try to bypass it. Okay. And what happens? Uh, all these 2,000 will be collected as a written fund called crowdfunding. Also, it can also be done if all 1,000 to 2,000 people are mine, and I will say I give you cash, you return it as legal money. So not a problem. A crowdfunding mechanism can happen where the crowdfunding happens and it becomes a legal money. Okay, so it's my money which goes to them and returns back, but returns back as a crowd money, right? So this is how the structuring happens, smurfing happens, right? And then comes with bulk cash smuggling. So what is bulk cash? Say for example, 100 crore, the same 100 crore in cash. Okay, it will be smuggled from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, usually to a offshore bank. So from India to some other tax haven, physically. Okay, so this is important. So it is physically done. So and physically it is transferred from one area to another area. This we call it as bulk cash smuggling. Okay, you can see even in during election times and other times, you can see some people carrying bulk of cash from one area to another area. Then cash incentive businesses. Say for example, what is cash intensive business? Where the instead of digital money, you try to use only cash. Say for example, tokening. You have bike stands, car stands, okay, some tokening system, some very petty cash businesses where very high cash up to 100 rupees max may involve, or certain retailing where you have very high uh, cash systems which operate. So those type of businesses they try to involve, and what they do, they try to create new money out of it. They'll say today more cars were parked, so we got more money. So slowly they will just encash it, and these criminal or dirty money is now converted into a or layered and spread it into various systems. Okay, so that is how the cash intensive business is going to be. Another one is investment in commodities. So when the dirty money is more, they try to have a luxury and high mobile communities like commodities like diamonds, gems, gold, which can be stored easily. So it is mostly for storage, which is stored easily. Say for example, even you can spend 1,000 crores of rupees and you have just a box full of diamond. That's all. Okay, so that box can be easily stored, easily secured, easily kept in treasure without notice of some population. So they involve in commodities. Okay, so when they want to do businesses, they just take one diamond, just bring it to other areas, so physically transmit it, sell it in black market, get money, invest in something. So they can do it in a better way in this particular manner. Another one is trade-based laundering. Here, what happens is in trade, the normal, it's not stock trade, it is physical trade. So you trade businesses. Say, for example, you trade commodities. either you under trade or you overvalue the trade and provide it. Say, for example, um, you are a trader and you trade, say, 1,000 tons of commodity a particular time in a year, right, or in a month or so on. So instead of 1,000, you hike it as say 1,100. So this 100-ton value, you say it is going to be um, filled with the dirty one. Okay, so this is how they try to do, or undervalue it. They will say 1,000 tons, but actually 1,000 tons would have not gone. Only 500 tons they would have sent. But they will raise the bill for 1,000 tons, and remaining money they will just pump in. So for tax purposes, what happens? This money will be legally earned because I have sold 1,000 tons. Okay. So this type of trading can happen through shell companies. So you know that shell companies are trust. They'll be silent. They don't have much of functioning. But what happens? They say we did advertisements, we did business this way, and but they will not be much active. Okay, so that is how they will be a legal personality, but active business will not be there. But they will show profit. So they book profits in crores, but they don't have. When you just ask those particular company, nobody will know that particular company, but it will exist. There are lakhs of such shell companies in India which operates in this particular manner. Okay, so ultimately, what happens? You will end up with a maximum utilization of these shell companies, where this dirty money will be converted as profits of shell companies with fake businesses and so on. Actually, it doesn't mean the fake business. They will actually do business. Say, for example, if I am in cosmetics, okay. So what I try to do, I try to throughout India, I try to open up branches. Okay. So for that, I will give advertisements in the televisions, newspapers, and all media. I will open shops. Okay, so franchisee shops or any other shops or my own shops across cities. Okay, I will manufacture some commodities. Okay, and make it available. There may be some people. So out of 100, one or two may buy this commodity, but I'm least bothered about these. But what happens for expenditure? I'll show all these amounts, say 10 crores, I will spend in expenditure. But what I will say, just physically everything is present. And I will say the sales is happening. So I got a sale of 500 crore. My business is going on. For showing this, I need to manufacture commodity, right? So I will hook up bills that I have manufactured this money and I will pay excise duty for that. But actually speaking, not even one cosmetic product would have been developed manufactured by me. But I will claim that this year I have manufactured 1 lakh this particular commodity and I will pay excise duty. When I pay excise duty, it is legitimate that I have produced it, right? Now what I will do, and I will just transport it and I will have all these expenditures included in this expenditure column. And then sales, even one box I would have not sold. But what I will say, per year I have sold 10 lakh products. Okay, so my business is year on year increasing, and thereby I generate profit. So all these expenditure 100 crore I will show, and 1,000 crores business I will run, and profit I will say a few crores I will get profit. All these will be dirty money. Okay, so this is how companies, shell companies and other trusts operate. Okay, so in this way, what happens? They try to generate money from where? So from illegal businesses and so on. Say drug trafficking. So the company would have been involving in drug trafficking, and they would have earned money. Okay, but they will have pharma company in some dubious names, and they say my pharma company supplies API, and I earn so and so money. But actually, they would have been suppliers of drug, okay, drug trafficking, and they earn money. They'll just root it out here in this. And this rooting out, and this what they try to do. You also use another method called round tripping. This criminal money, which is uh, got, it will be sent to offshore as deposits in tax havens, and they will be shipped again as investments in the same company, in the shell companies. And they say there are investments from there. So in one setup, they use multiple aspects, okay, multiple aspects in such a way that they try to root out many things, and the money starts building up, and everything turns to be legal there. Okay. So this is how the round tripping and shell companies can happen. The same, say, shell company can be top. They do the trade. In that they launder. They do round tripping. In that they can do it. They can have cash incentive trading, investments in commodities, bulk cash transfers, smurfing. Everything can be done as a single company, right? And they can involve in Hawala also. What is Hawala? Hawala means trust. Trust means it's not the trust organization. It's a basic trust, belief, trust. I trust you. So that's a Hawala. Right? What happens? Person A wants to transfer money to the person B illegally, right? But person A is in India, person B is in, say, America. So how to do it? In India, I need to find person X who does this particular exchange for some commission. Okay. Same way in America, there will be person Y who does this for certain commission. So this X and Y will have some relationship. Okay. So what I do, I try to find this particular X who does Hawala. So I say, I need to transfer money to person B, say 1,000 crore rupees. Okay. So X says, okay, I can do, but I need some 1% commission, or say, for example, 0.1% commission, whatever it may be. So he says, okay, person A agrees that he'll give some commission to person X. So person X physically takes money from person A, okay, and gives a code, a secret code. This code will be informed to person B, and this person B will reach person Y, and he will inform this code, which is informed to him by person X, and B will inform the same code. Y will give him the 1,000 crore in US. Okay. And between X and Y, there will be round tripping kind of, there will be having some mechanisms to transfer the funds at the net. In 1 year, they'll do the business at the end of the day. So Y would have transferred to India, say 10,000 crores. X would have transferred to America, say 11,000 crores. So at the end of the day, only 1,000 crore has to be transferred from Y to X. So they will find some mechanism to transfer it. So they will do it transaction. Whereas A has transacted B within few minutes of time with transfer of this particular money physically within the territory, not outside the territory, right? So this type of transaction, we call it as Hawala transaction. It happens in this particular case, right? So similarly, we have casinos, okay, that is gambling. In casinos, the thing is that uh, I mean, gambling happens. They just cash it with illicit money. That's what they try to do. Yeah. So these are some of the mechanisms under which they try to have um, money laundered, right? Then synthetic identity. What is synthetic identity? The criminals try to duplicate your or fabricate your credit cards, online deposits, loans, and so on. And then they try to use that particular account as a mirror account to mirror their deposits and so on. So that is synthetic account. Black salaries, it's so simple. A company may have unregistered employees, they will pay them cash and salaries from the black money what they have. Okay? And tax amnesties. Sometimes what happens, there may be tax amnesties which are provided by countries, the governments. They use it the dirty money will be directly converted into a tax amenity. Say, for example, before demonetization, there was amnesty scheme. What they did, say, whatever the black money you have, if you just surrender it and pay 30% or outright, we will just do away with everything. So what happens? You say it is black money, but how it would have been generated? It can be a dirty money also, all through the days. And legally, they will just convert it without any difficulty. So they try to misuse the amenities also. So in this way, we have many methodologies. What we have in this regard, how this tax amnesties are used, right? So these are some of the major methods. Other methods are business email compromise. Okay, so they have some email compromises where they try to pose that you have sent something with your own emails. Cyber laundering, where digital currencies, e-commerce method, they try to do it. That is mining. Okay, crypto mining they will do. Transaction laundering, where the merchant knowingly or unknowingly processes illicit or credit cards and so on. So this is the one where transaction laundering will happen if they have synthetic identity. Okay, so that's how it is related. Synthetic identity will be related to business email, compromise, transaction, cyber, everything. Okay, so all these are methods or techniques in which money can be laundered. So that placement and the layering, how placement and layering happens, and how they integrate it with the system. Okay, so this is how it's a very massive network. It's a great network what they have, and it's very very difficult for the countries, and that's the reason why the G20 understood its danger and established FATF with the countries. Thereby, the countries are strictly monitored, and they have some penalizing effects. What you call it as blacklisting, grey listing, and so on, where the Financial Action Task Force is doing a great job with respect to money laundering. But the thing is that these money laundering is a very, very serious offense, and it is a source. See, the problem is that it is sourced from dirty money. That means that criminal activities are increasing day by day. You know that in drug trafficking, India suffers a lot. You know that 68,000 kgs of heroin has been transported in various forms across India in just a year. Okay, we seized from Sikkim. We had officially it is provided by Ministry of Home Affairs in Parliament, and you had news coming out in Kandla port. Many seizures have happened. So you can see that criminal activities are increasing. Thereby, the money is mined and laundered in a larger way. Okay, so money laundering is a very, very serious offense, and India suffocates itself in this particular aspect in preventing them. And we need to take down some tough stance with respect to money laundering, right? Fine. So, what impact it creates? Money laundering creates a very serious impact because not only it disturbs the economy. Okay, distortion in economy, at least we can take care, and we have measures to look after it. But the background is very very dangerous because it has a criminal activity. More and more criminal activity, more and more security threat, internal security issues, more and more people are put in danger. Many other aspects are happening. So, money laundering successfully boosts up criminal activity. That's the most fundamentally greater impact, influence what it can happen for any country. And the most important another thing is, say for example, if a shell company is working and they do illegal business, when they recruit people, they hire with a very good high salary. So just there may be very less job. I mean, very less job activity, but they will be posing you with 40,000, 50,000, a lakh per month. So they will be attracting people with the high returns. Okay, so high salaries, and they involve themselves without knowing that they are involving in a company which does dirty job, right? So it exposes society to criminal activities, because when drug trafficking increases, drug is uh, exposed to everybody, from children in the schools, colleges, youth, young adults, till the until the age. So everyone are subjected to uh, drug addiction. Corruption increases, smuggling increases, cronies increases, right? And naturally, what happens is society gets weakened, and democratic institutions will be weakened, right? That's what the Punjab government says. Say previously, drug trafficking was there largely in the border states, especially in Punjab and so on, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, and these in the eastern side. But now, even you can see when Tamil Nadu government, Kerala government, Andhra Pradesh, they are all seeking much more increased action against drug trafficking. And you can see even high white collar criminals are doing these jobs, say doctors involved in drug trafficking, uh, white collared IT professionals, they involved in drug trafficking. It's not that only poor or other population does that. So it turns out to be a white collar crime, right? So that's a reason why Tamil Nadu government is very, very keen. Say it's not in the border, but still we feel the heat, because it's a massive transport which happens across India. So the spillovers are there across various parts of India, right? So when Tamil Nadu itself feels that heat, because the routing is there, think about how Punjab is affected, how Rajasthan, Gujarat, or northeastern India is affected, which is the root of terror, right? So we'll discuss that largely in the drug trafficking in organized crimes tomorrow. But anyway, the problem is very high, and crime syndicates become economically powerful, and they become very powerful, and they really control the economic power. So when they control economic power, naturally the rich becomes richer, the poor becomes poorer, and the country, the inequality is very, very high, which again goes back to the same cycle, the fertile ground for terror, which we discussed before, right? And legitimately, the legitimate businesses, the people who start with legitimacy, with legitimate money, their companies fail because these crime syndicates control the economic power. And naturally, there is a loss of revenue to the government. It's very definite, uh, because you find that smuggling happens, corruption happens, everything goes into black money, taxable revenue comes down, and unpredictability increases, because there will be a very strong parallel economy running. When parallel economy runs in, definitely there will be double counting every aspect. So you feel that actual economy runs with $3 trillion, but actually there will be $6 trillion running out, right? For election, they say the government of India spends around 4,000 crores approximately, but actual general elections, there are around 15 to 20,000 crores, which is illegally moving around. So in that way, the unpredictability will be there, which will threaten the stability of the economy. When stability is of the economy is threatened, naturally the social and political stability will be threatened. So policy distortions will be there, tax evasion will be there. So it's a huge impact what money laundering can, because the domino effect what it has is very enormous and highly hazardous and disastrous, right? So that's the reason why we were now targeting on money laundering at large, and why money laundering has been seen in a greater stretch. Clear? Okay. Then what is the challenge? The challenge is that the tax havens. So it's a transnational crime, right? Money laundering is transnational in character. So all countries have to coordinate. If one country becomes a tax haven, then naturally there is a constraint. This is one. Another one is technologies like digital technology, electronic fund transfers, cryptocurrencies. Okay. So there are various methods by which money laundering happens, which is very, very difficult for countries to involved in control measures. And with respect to coordinated networks, again, that is again a major problem because money launderers have a very good coordinated network, whereas between the countries, there are issues because the countries have their own political issues, they have their own foreign policy issues. Just because I don't like a particular country, I won't give information. So likewise, there will be some problems. And compliance failure. Many countries doesn't follow KYC norms, know your custom norms. There are some loopholes where the KYC norms can be done away with and or ineffective, and they try to be part of the money laundering system. Lack of awareness among the people. There are multiple agencies. Say within India, we have such a huge number of agencies which operate. Same way, you need to have many countries, 196 countries, coordinating with all. If even if all countries have 10 agencies, there are around 1,900. I mean, 1,960 agencies which have to coordinate, which is very difficult process. At least minimum of 500 to 1,000 agencies you need to cooperate, which is difficult, right? Volume of data which is going to be handled. It's a really big data. Okay, how the information. The most important thing is actionable information has to be provided. It may be actionable information or actionable intelligence, whatever it may be. So when I give some information, there should be an action which is following it. When an information which doesn't trigger any action, that information goes waste, right? And widespreading smuggling. Smuggling becomes highly widespread. So in that way, all these becomes difficult with respect to this particular problem, right? So all these are challenges which prevents uh, uh, government, I mean, to take steps against money laundering, right? So what are the frameworks India have? So as far as India is concerned, we have a framework which are primarily standalone act or legislation is Money Laundering Act, okay, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which was enacted in 2002, but it came into force by 2005, and immediately it had a very significant number of amendments in 2009, 11, 12, 16 recently, 20s. So we had a quite number of money laundering provisions which are tinkered so that either it becomes effective or it tries to bridge the loopholes. Another act is Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act, which is one of the earliest act which we had with respect to foreign exchange manipulation. You remember that we had a regulation called FERA, Foreign Exchange Relation Act. So same way we had it at the same time. And later we had FEMA. FERA is now reframed as FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. And then we have Benami Transaction Act, we have Narcotics Act, okay, and Fugitive Economics Act, Fugitive Economy Offenders Act, and Foreign Exchange, that is Coffee Poser. Okay, this we call it as Coffee Poser, one of the important acts. And this Benami Transaction Act was recently in news, where the retrospective effect was not upheld by the Supreme Court. It struck down those provisions which were amended recently, right? That was in current affairs. You can refer to that. And Coffee Posa, along with Tada, was one of the notorious framework what we had. But Tada is not there now, whereas Coffee Posa is still existing. And there are even some politicians under this particular threat of conviction under this particular act. So these are some of the handful of statutory framework. But whatever may be, the greater action can be taken in this particular way that we call it as money laundering acts, right? Fine. As far as statutory framework, these are the things. whereas institutional framework. So we have enforcement directorate. This is the major agency, uh, enforcing agency, which tackles the Foreign Exchange Management Act, PMLA, kind of. So coffee posa, everything. They go with the enforcement directorate. Now the powerful agencies in India. Then we have Financial Intelligence Unit and the Ministry of Finance, where you know that the top officials in the finance they have. And we know that under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we have Serious Fraud Investigation Office, where the companies and registered under the Companies Act 2013. So they will be, if they involve in crime, if they have some audit issues, if they had fraudulent means of money generated or laundered, so that they will be investigated by the Serious Fraud Investigation Office. CBI for corruption and other charges, and Narcotics Bureau with respect to drug, wildlife with respect to smuggling, poaching, etc. So all these, they coordinate with these agencies in the institution with respect to money laundering. Okay. As far as international framework is concerned, India is part of all. We have Vienna Convention against illicit traffic. It's the first major initiative to prevent the money laundering. It came up in 1988. And then we have Global Program Against Money Laundering, International Convention for Suppression of Financial Terrorism, Financing of Terrorism. Then we had a Financial Action Task Force. With this, G20 started having their own mechanism. Then transnational crime, on corruption, and so on. So in all these, India is a party, and India tries to take part in all these activities to the international norms. And apart from that, we have some other initiatives other than UN, United Nations. The other European countries and other developed countries, they have some initiatives. We have from OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they have automatic exchange of financial information initiative. When investments are made, okay, when investments are made, when investigations are done, or some untoward incidents of scams and something, all information will be shared among the OECD countries about these particular transactions. So this initiative is among the OECD. And then base erosion and profit shifting initiative. This we have even with the G20 countries, and there are even bilateral relations where we try to do in this particular way. When they have double taxation agreements between countries, they also have this particular BEPS agreements between countries. India has quite a lot of BEPS initiatives with other countries. So what happens? Say, for example, there may be country A and there may be country B, say Mauritius and India. Okay, India would have had some trade agreements, free trade agreements with Mauritius to promote what do you call businesses or investments between the two countries. But some other company EX, which is there from Europe or America or any other country, to use this particular facility, they try to have one branch in Mauritius, right, where the taxes are low, and they trade in India. And when they generate money, they will shift this particular money to the Mauritius, where the company is where the taxes are very low. In India, what they say under we are from Mauritius. So under Mauritius, we have agreements that double taxation avoidance is going to be there. So I'm going to pay tax here. So what happens? You are shifting the profit, and the base is eroded in India. So to avoid this, this particular base erosion and profit shifting agreements are made so that minimum tax is going to be paid, and the remaining part of the tax is being paid in another country, or any other mechanisms are established in such a way that the host country doesn't lose money. And you remember that G7 countries, they recommended the corporate taxation, okay, the global corporate tax of same kind of 17% or 15% or whatever it will be, a minimum tax, minimum global corporate tax. Okay, so that these type of issues cannot arise. Okay, that's what they try to come up with. And then we have a Basel Committee in Switzerland, which regulates banking regulation and supervisory practices. They try to they are known for providing best practices in banking sector, uh, and they try to have certain norms and parameters under which the international banks have to operate, and even the member countries will operate in that way, so that they will not receive any bad ratings, right? And then Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. This is a group where the entire financial intelligence units of the member countries join hands together to share information and so. So all these are international initiatives other than UN initiatives within the countries or within the groups of countries which operate among them. Okay, so this is another important set what we have. Now, coming to India with respect to Money Laundering Act of India, Prevention of Money Laundering Act of India, 2002. The main objective is to prevent money laundering and to control money laundering and confiscate. So either they prevent or control and then confiscate and seize the properties of laundered money, and to deal with any other issue connected with money laundering in India. So these are the basic objectives with which it happens. The provisions are very stronger, and even in the recent time, Supreme Court upheld some of the provisions which were challenged in the Supreme Court, and we will see them all. So one of the salient features of money laundering is that is Act Prevention of Money Laundering Act (PMLA) is that when a person is convicted in money laundering, the person receives a rigorous imprisonment of minimum of 3 years to 7 years. Okay, it is rigorous imprisonment. So there is nothing called as ordinary imprisonment. It is a rigorous imprisonment for 3 to 7 years. In case if that particular money laundering has been done with the source of drug trafficking or narcotics, then that particular punishment can extend up to 10 years. Say, for example, if that particular person has raised money because of drug trafficking, they may be imprisoned for maximum of 10 years of rigorous imprisonment. Yeah. So thus the serious punishment is there, and there will be fines and other aspects with respect to other provisions of the other acts like narcotics and other acts. Say this is only for PMLA, that is money laundering. Remember, there is a source, money source, and money laundering happens, and property has been or something has outcome has been happening. So there is punishment for doing this criminal activity under PMLA. Then laundering money will attract. When there is for the same crime, if it is going to be different types of sources, different types of acts will provide, because this PMLA penalizes for this money acting as a source for laundering and for laundering. That is the intention of laundering as well as the process of laundering, both will happen. Whereas the raising of money illegally, accordingly under the provisions, we will have separate acquisitions. Say Narcotics Act, we have Wildlife Protection Act and so on. So those provisions will also combine together, and that makes it even more penalized. And then the PMLA Act provides for an adjudicating authority appointed by the central government to undertake certain adjudications regarding this particular cases. And interconnected transactions all will be undertaken under this act. Therefore, because layering involves many transactions. So some transactions may fall under one act or other act. So you need not invoke all acts. You can just do it under PMLA itself. Okay. And the most important thing is the onus of the proof is, the burden of the proof is in the onus of the accused person. If I'm accused of money laundering, I should prove myself that I am innocent. It is not the prosecution which proves that you are accused or you are the convict, right? So it's not going to be the burden of proof on them. The burden of proof is from our side. Then appellate tribunal. Only few cases in India we have the burden of proof on our side. One of these is this. And appellate tribunal, yes, there is a separate appellate tribunal from the adjudicating authority, and these order of the tribunals can be heard in appropriate high courts and then to Supreme Court. Okay, a special court can also be set up by the central government with consulting the Supreme Court. And then the central national agency with respect to prevention of money laundering in the international forum is Financial Intelligence Unit, which we have in India, that is FIU India. Okay, so all these are some of the provisions which are there, stringent provisions which are there with respect to money laundering in India. Right? Now, in the recent year, Supreme Court in Vijay Madanlal Choudhary versus Union of India came out that there are the amended versions of PMLA in 2016-17 is upheld, right? So this particular thing is that the Supreme Court clearly came down, clearly indicated that the generation of money through the crime and its integration to the formal or independent offenses. That's what we said. So the crime which is there for sourcing the money and the intention or the integration, what it happens at the formal economy are two different crimes. So two penalization will be attracted. Okay. Then the offense of the money laundering is dependent on the illegality of the crime. Say, for example, if the crime is not proved, that is, if this particular money is not proved that it is sourced from some scheduled crime in the PMLA, then this money is not illegal money, or what do you call it as dirty money. So this part comes down. Clear? So if this is coming down, naturally, the PMLA, the money laundering case also comes down because it is not a dirty money. So I am not money laundering. I am doing it in a right way. Okay, legal money. But they will check whether this has been paid with tax and so on. If tax is paid, then no charges will be there. Everything will be quashed. Clear? That's the idea. So remember that. And then as far as enforcement case information report, this cannot be equated to FIR because the enforcement directorate is not a police officer. Okay, so it is not an FIR. So ECIR need not be mandated to disclose the reason during the arrest. Okay, so immediately, that is ECIR copy need not be provided. But when the arrest is made, only during the arrest is made, the disclosure of reason can be there, but that's also subject to interpretations of the officer. And then as far as ED summons, enforcement directorate can summon people because it is having the power of a civil court. And they are not police officers, so their proceedings need not be considered as investigation, but they are just inquiry. Right. So it is not investigating report. It is just an inquiry report. They'll just inquire you with respect to what are the issues which we have in the provisions of the laundering, right? The so-called laundering. The power of arrest is enforcement directorate has a power to arrest, attach property which are assumed to be the property got in the money laundering process, and they can involve in search and seizure under PMLA. So all are legible. So the power of arrest, the search, seizure, everything is legible. And bail conditions cannot be provided at arbitrary manner, and they have to be under stringent conditions. That is twin bail. Twin bail in the sense First first condition is that the accused should not distort the case. Number one. So if there is any possibility, bail not be granted. Number two, the accused may not involve in the crime again in the during the process of the case. So if these two are guaranteed, then the bail can be granted. But otherwise, the bail may not be granted. This is the twin bail system. And possession of the proceeds. So mere possession of the proceeds of the crime without integrating or layering can be alleged as money laundering. So money laundering means, it doesn't mean that you need involve placement, layering, and so on. It's not like that. Just when you have money generated from a criminal activity, source from criminal activity, you possess the money, that itself is sufficient to be termed as money laundering, because anyway you need to launder it to do. So naturally, they say that it is going to be money laundering, right? So the basic idea here, what we have in this particular case is that the most important criticism with respect to the money laundering amendments are there. The provisions are stringent, no doubt about it. We need to have the stringent provision. So we could understand the nature of money laundering and the impact of money laundering. No doubt about it. Money laundering is a very serious offense. We need to have an iron fist and iron hand. But on the other hand, the misuse of and abuse of machinery, okay, abuse of machinery, what we have with the enforcement directorate and so on for the political purposes. So that involves certain questions where the enormous powers to the ED without any check and balance. Okay, so without any check and balance is a problem. Okay, when the onus is on the accused, and when ED doesn't do anything, they just come, raid, seize, throw a notice, and then go off. And if they want, they can make an arrest and so on. And at the end of the day, it's a pillar to post. The person has to move. Say even a honest can be threatened in this particular way. So the very idea of check and balance, protection of the honest, is not there. Okay, so the provisions are stringent, no doubt about it, and it should be. But there should be, any law in a democracy has to be having check and balance and the protection of the honest. So in that way, whether this is happening, this is a question. Another one is there is escalation of the PM, that is PMLA implementation. It has increased to 4,000% of search and seize, but the conviction rate is less than 2% or 1%. So such a huge search operation happens, but a very less conviction happens, which shows that the judicial process is not happening to the core, or this act is not having its own aspect established. Okay. So this is the issue on part of this PMLA, but anyway, the critic is right in these two aspects. But anyway, the provisions need to be stringent, no doubt about it. Thank you.